you expected. Okay. A regular electrical motor, which does make sense because, as we said, it represents the prototype, so it's supposed to be a practical model. This one here, though, this one is not a practical model at all. So this one, Tesla made specifically for that exhibition in Chicago that you guys heard about in the movie. And he made it purely to present his invention in a more interesting way. Right? It does not have any day-to-day use, as you know. But the model itself, it does work in the same way as all the other induction motors, except for one pretty big difference. So the central rotating part, the rotor of this model is an egg, a metal egg. As you can see, there's nothing here in the center because the rotor is here. Now, it wasn't chosen randomly. Of course, Tesla didn't have a reason for it. That exhibition was also a celebration of 400 years since the discovery of America. So as inspiration, let's say, for this model, Tesla used the story called Columbus's riddle, which is a bit long, but the point of the riddle, well, the riddle itself is that Columbus asked some people to take an egg, place it on its top, like that, and just leave it standing by itself, which no one could do. As you can imagine, it's impossible. Right? As soon as they let go of the egg, it falls over. So then Columbus took the egg, he cracked the top, flattened it basically, and it could stand on its own. It's just not, the solution isn't that impressive, given the premise at least. So Tesla decided to use this invention to solve the riddle itself. Of course, when we turn on the motor, the rotor begins to rotate, as you can imagine. But the faster it rotates, the more it will lean towards the pointy side of the egg, because it wants to find balance, right? So eventually, once it gains enough speed, it stands all the way up. Effectively solving that riddle, right? That was the idea. Of course, since it is still on, it will continue to rotate. Eventually, it would be fast enough to jump out of the plate, even, but we'll stop here. There it is. So that would be it for these induction motors here. You heard a little bit about them, you know what they are made for, you saw a couple important models. But now, for the rest of this tour, we will mostly be focused on some of Tesla's later work, specifically after the construction of the power plant on Niagara Falls. So throughout that period, Tesla did still, of course, work with alternating currents, but what he would do is he would put those currents under extremely high voltages and frequencies. And we won't go into the physics of it all, but the point is, the reason why I said that is it does switch up their properties a little, it changes how they behave, right? And that we will, of course, show off through 3 different uses for them. So the first one, that will be this largest device, just to my left, back there. So you guys can move over to it. I suppose we can make a bit of a half circle around, right? And then we'll continue there. So before we do continue, if you guys enter, you can move all the way to your right. Just make it a little bit more even, I guess. Okay, that's good. Right, so whenever we do talk about these currents, these high voltage, high frequency currents, you will always see at least one of these devices, because that's what Tesla used to give those currents that voltage and frequency he needed. Now the device itself, though, it is an oscillating transformer, right? Or a Tesla coil. Maybe you've heard that before. But transformers in general, what they're used for is to transform the voltage that's given to it. And we have mentioned voltage a couple of times, and we will even more. If you guys don't know, it's basically what pushes the electricity through the wires, right? Voltage, you can look at it as some sort of pressure for the current, which is important when talking about this one, because what this transformer does, it will take the voltage from the wall socket, 220 volts, and transform that into 500,000 at the top, which is extremely high, as you can imagine. It will push the current so much it will be able to jump through the air as well. A bit. It won't be able to jump to you, right? But even if it could, it would jump to the closest available thing, the metal sphere up there. Now when that happens, when the lightning appears, the air around it will be filled with electrical energy as well, which is extremely weak. You won't feel anything. It's very limited by the amount of molecules in the air, especially around the lightning. And you can't see it, right? So the way that we will prove it works, as we said, is by using these lamps. Since as the lightning strikes and the air gets filled with those ions, these lamps will light up, right? Effectively, it's a little demonstration of the very beginning of Tesla's idea for wireless transmission of energy, right? And I do mean the very beginning. That idea you heard about in the video for the worldwide system and so on. It wouldn't work like this through the air, right? But this is how his experiments began, and through them he discovered many things. One of them would be that idea. But anyways, let's actually start. So does anyone want to hold a lamp?
Nicht runterfallen lassen.
פשוט נחזיק את זה והגל אלקטרומגנטי אמור להדליק. גל אלקטרומגנטי אמור להדליק את זה.
All right. Well, now those lamps that you're holding, there aren't many of us here, so you can hold them just kind of straight up. It does not really matter how high. The only thing that you should pay attention to is the distance between your lamps and the transformer. Right? We said the current can jump a bit, so naturally, if you were too close, it would jump to you. Right? So you just have to stay behind this fence. But still, we are demonstrating wireless transmission of energy, so the farther you are, the more impressive it would be anyways. But other than that, there is one more important question before we turn it on. Does anybody here maybe have a pacemaker?
Pacemaker.
Great. Okay, well then, if no one has one, we can just start. There will be 3 lightnings, and they are pretty loud, right? So I will count down before each one, so you expect it. But other than that, you guys know everything. So if you think he'll get scared, maybe he can plug his ears. But...